Good morning. Happy Sunday. This feels like the perfect day to share a little more of Tulip Poplar's medicine. I think it's been, a week since I shared her medicine with IG Live, and then life starts happening. And here we are on Sunday, and it's perfect. And so I think this is going to become a regular thing of sharing Tulip Poplar medicine on Sundays. And in this IG Live today, I'm going to share a little bit with you about why it's the perfect day. So the curious thing that's happened to me ever since I met Tulip Poplar is that when I'm with this tree, songs come to me, which songs come when I'm with other plants too, but the songs that come to me when I'm with Tulip Poplar are completely different from any of the other songs. So when I sit with Tulip Poplar, I will think of songs from church, like gospel hymns that I sang when I was small, or songs from church camp that we would sing around the fire, in the evenings. But there's songs that I have not sung or thought about for, 20, 30 years. Giving my age away a little bit. And when I'm with other plants, songs will come, but it's not those. It's not those songs. There is an element to this tree of divinity and of connection to angelic and celestial realms that is a different flavor. And the image that's coming into my mind is it's like a different it's a different ray of light that's coming through than some of the other plants. So when I sit with rose, when I sit with oak, when I sit with plantain, when I sit with chicory, I'm experiencing an aspect of the divine, embodied here in this place. But it's not the aspect that I experience with Tulip Poplar, and it doesn't express the same way. And it's been so curious because when I'm in classes and I sit with people with Tulip Poplar and we're in a group setting or even just one-on-one in certain sessions, this is also what they get. Like, it's more than this, but it's also words like worship, which is a word that perhaps that person who offers it doesn't usually use, isn't a way that they're thinking about the world, or temple or pillars, often angelic connections, this idea of light. So this has been my experience with Tulip Poplar, and then she's given me songs, and it's curious because the songs that Tulip Poplar gives have been very different from the songs that I receive from other plants. So other plants, maybe the song that I get, I'll start singing about my heart, or water, when I sit with it, something about words and emotions and communication. But when I sit with Tulip Poplar, I get these songs that, if the modern day church were open to it, could be used in what they think of as their, praise and worship moments. Like, they are songs of devotion, songs for lifting up the heart. So, besides that, here's something super fun. I sat with a Tulip Poplar tree that's here in my area, and it's said it's around 400 years old. It's an enormous old Tulip Poplar, and a particular gentleman, I guess 100 years ago, maybe more now, he purchased the tree and the land around it because he wanted to preserve it from the logging that was happening here in the area. So now we have this beautiful Tulip Poplar that's been preserved. So I think it's maybe 45 minutes, an hour from where I live. And a few years ago now, maybe 3-4 years ago, I felt a pull on Easter Sunday to go and visit this particular tree. So I went to visit the tree, to sit with it, just be with it, and to listen. And as I was getting up to leave on Easter Sunday, I heard Tulip Poplar say to me that I should get ordained, which for those of you that know some of my background, which probably is not most of you unless you've been in classes with me, because I haven't tended to share much yet on social media and other places, but my background is that of being part of a very conservative branch of the Christian church. So I began as like a little Baptist girl growing up, and then I moved into the Presbyterian church, not mainline liberal, but more conservative, and they like to use the term Reformed, and into a segment of that where women covered their heads, women weren't allowed to speak, only men could hold offices, or as they would put it, rule. So women were told to remain silent, and you really could not do any of those things. There was even debate over whether a woman can even be a deacon, which is so much about compassion and serving. And I was a pastor's wife for almost 20 years in that way of being in the world. So for Tulip Poplar to say to me, get ordained, it was a little unusual, but I was open to it. My heart was open, and I found it curious. And I knew that this ordination was not like the ordinations that I had experienced. So shortly after, I got online and Googled, how do you do this? Sorry, we've got some notifications coming up. And I found a place, I think, that the title of it is actually the Universal Church of Light, or Universal Light Church, which is so fitting for Tulip Poplar, but you get the idea. It's very broad, in its sheltering. And so I did it. I went on and I filled out the little forms, and I paid my $40, and voila! I get this little thing that comes up on the screen that says, congratulations, you are now ordained. Hi, Maggie. I'm talking about Tulip Poplar and ordination. So this little picture comes up that says, congratulations, you are now an ordained minister in, the Church of Universal Light or whatever. And I remember that moment because my little heart, I saw it, and it smiled, and she was so happy, and she was like jumping up and down, and I could see her like feeling this excitement. And I will tell you, I have had a lot of really beautiful, lovely things happen to me in my life. Primarily my children, learning that I'm expecting my children and having them come into the world, and moments with them, and then I have experienced really lovely moments with my work, with herbs and plants, and even relationships and connection. But I have never seen my heart jump up and down with so much joy and just like giggle. She was so excited. So there I was, an ordained minister, formerly a pastor's wife in an organization that would not allow women to speak, even, much less stand up and preach or hold ordination. I mean, there was so much debate over like whether or not we should even be covering our heads, or what sort of clothes we should be wearing, or whether men should even speak to women at all, like whether we should even be, tempting them with our presence and our words. So here's the thing, though, that I'm learning about Tulip Poplar and Tulip Poplar's type of ordination. And I'm sure that I'm going to keep learning, because my journey with her has only just begun. But she's not a preacher, at least not yet. She's not offering sermons, though she does have morning dove medicine, which is oracle medicine, but that's very different. Oracle medicine is incredibly different than what we think of as preaching and sermons. I mean, that is mouthpiece of the divine, prophetic. So she does have that. But I am finding, for now, how she wants to express is really joyful, playful things at the moment, like weddings. So, not too long after that, a friend knew that I had become ordained, even though I wasn't like posting it and advertising it and whatnot. And so, she asked if I would officiate. Is that the word? Be the celebrant at their wedding. And it was so beautiful. I mean, honestly, again, it's one of those moments in my life where I experienced so much joy. And part of it was not so much what I was doing, but the union that I was invited to be a part of its joining, because it was such, I can't even go into all of it, but it was a beautiful union between two beautiful humans and lovely souls. And they had written their own vows, and the guy used the word multiverse. I think he told her she was the most beautiful woman in the multiverse. And I remember feeling so delighted that I was able to be a part of a ceremony where someone would use the word multiverse and use it to describe the incomparable beauty, of their partner. So this is part of what I experienced with Tulip Poplar is it is a tree of benediction. It is a tree of blessing. It blesses unions. It's not quite a matchmaker. That's more holly and some other plants. But it recognizes the union of two souls, and it blesses them. And I have another friend. I'm just thinking of this right now, and I'm getting goosebumps on my legs. Where she and her partner chose to, sort of after that public ceremony, have their own sort of private ceremony that felt more intimate, to sort of solidify their union. And she chose to be under a tulip poplar tree, when she did that. So this is how I experienced this tree. And some of you may have seen my poem that I often share on social media of, what if we imagined a world where it was the trees that were ordaining and the trees that were offering benediction? What a different world we would be living in if that were the case. But this is the world that we can imagine, and this is the world that we can create. And this reminds me of how after the ordination, I think I mentioned it to my children, and so the older ones especially, their experiences with this particular church group. And so one of them made the comment, you're not ordained, like it's just, some internet ordination. And I just smiled, like my heart smiled. I smiled right now because I was thinking, you don't even know what has happened here. Because I was thinking this morning about how in the Christian scriptures, Jesus was not of the tribe of Levi. He was not a Levite, which was the tribe that was the priesthood. This is the lineage for the priest. And so in the Christian scriptures, it speaks about how Jesus was called as a priest. That's the word that it uses. But this divine minister after the order of Melchizedek, which is a rabbit hole that it might be fun to go down. But the idea being a more ancient lineage. And so, and it's recognized that his ordination, so to speak, is legit. Not because he's a Levite, but because it's beyond that, earlier than that, past that. It's the order of Melchizedek, to put it simply. And so this morning I was thinking, well, maybe there's an order of tulip poplar. And trust me, if a tree says to you, get ordained, if a tree lifts its branches and offers benediction and blessing over you and your work, you take it, you accept it. So I think I'm going to pause there for this morning for a little Sunday sharing of tulip poplar medicine. But I do think I will choose Sundays as the regular IG Live for tulip poplar medicine, and we'll just have a little gathering on Sundays for the enjoyment of tulip poplar. So this morning, though, before I go, I want to share a song with you. And this is a song that Tulip Poplar gave me. I also shared another one of her songs this morning on a new Whispers podcast episode 84, and also 83. They both have one of Tulip Poplar's songs. But this morning, here is this one for you before we finish. Dear Divine, sing through me, dear Divine, let me be your voice, your lips, your breath that's breathed, dear Divine, sing through me, dear Divine, love through me, dear Divine, let me be your voice, your lips, your breath that's breathed, dear Divine, love through me, dear Divine, live through me, dear Divine, let me be your voice, your lips, your breath that's breathed, dear Divine, live through me. All right, so that's my church for today. I'm gonna head out and enjoy it. Thank you so much for being with me, and hopefully we can gather again next Sunday for a little bit of Tulip Poplar medicine. Okay, bye-bye. To figure out how to turn this off.